Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions. This is a new segment that we're doing, which is going to be Seller Q&A. We have Michael Schneider, who has joined us today. He's been selected from people that submitted questions. As said, this is a brand new experiment. We brought him onto the show. Do you want to give the audience a little bit of background on yourself, mate?
Sure.
Yep.
Thanks, Danny, for having me. I'm very excited, big fan of the show. Basically, I've been selling on Amazon for about 5 years now. My best friend and I started together. We sell one product, and we basically try to diversify by spreading ourselves over lots and multiple platforms.
Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, don't go into the product, but what was interesting with you, you're up to your 6th version of the product. You've gone in deep with the product itself for consistent refinement rather than diversifying your risk. Your diversification comes from selling multi-platform off of Amazon, but you're focused on one product, yeah?
Affirmative.
Yes, cool. And of course, Brandon, would you like to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, so been selling on Amazon for 5 years, private label now 4. We've built up a 8-figure business. We'll do over 10 million in revenue this year. And I also teach Amazon through Seller Systems. We have a college level course. I have some master classes available, and absolutely love being on the show, Danny.
Thank you. I love having you on the show as well. Welcome, Amy. How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Good. Excellent. Do you want to give the audience a quick background on yourself, please?
Hello, everybody. I'm Amy Weiss. I'm founder of AmazingAtHome.com, and we help people develop products. So I'm an inventor, and I've been selling on Amazon since 2007, but that was just kind of flipping products. I didn't really, get into the private label game until 2017, and that's when I invented a product and brought it to market along with a couple of other private labels, and I just fell in love with it and started doing copywriting, SEO, and now I have some software in my portfolio as well as a consulting firm helping Amazon sellers. I have a China trip and of course my own brands on Amazon, and I really enjoy being a seller as well.
Yeah, and you also be known to, I don't know what it is, squat like 800 pounds in videos. Brandon, have you seen her videos?
I've not.
I couldn't even lift them with, just pull them off the ground like small amounts. She lifts some serious weight in these videos. Like
girls just gotta have guns,
The girl with guns there, look, yeah. Okay, right. So we've got a lot of questions that I need to get through. I'll ask the questions, and then what we'll do is Michael will chip in here. You guys will chip in, and we'll keep it free flowing as best as possible. Hold on, Danny, tell Amy to check her mic. I don't think she set it up her mic correctly. Yes. So your mic's plugged in. Just check your output settings, Amy, because it's a bit echo in it. It might just be coming out of your computer settings.
Oh, yeah. It might not be your actual condenser mic there. That's a beautiful mic.
Yeah.
I know, right? Let me see if
because I can hear the room echo, and so that suggests it's coming from the computer pickup rather than the mic itself. So while you are setting up that, let's go to the first question. I'll bring this over to Brandon. If you find PPC sales are roughly 50% of your total sales, up from 33% on average, what does that mean for me if PPC continues to become a larger and larger makeup of my total sales while staying within the ACOS goal, of course?
Yeah, 100%. That's the death spiral, we call it. And the result of basically your PPC not converting well. So Amazon's ranking algorithm relies on a few different metrics. It relies on your click-through rate, your conversion rate, the relevancy of your product, your overall total sales. And so relevancy of your product to that keyword, specific keyword. Those 4 things combined across many different averages, weighted across different times. So like your most recent average of those things might be weighted the highest, and then the oldest average of those is weighted the least, but then it's averaged many different times. That equals what's called your quality score, and then your quality score determines where you're actually ranked. All right. So what's happening with that product is that you're running PPC, that is not converting well. Your click-through rate's low and your conversion rate is low on that PPC. So the PPC is actually hurting your product more than helping it. You see it contributing to your bottom line, and you see it contributing to your overall revenue, but it's not doing a good job of maintaining your ranks. So what's happening is, as your organic ranks on those keywords slide, you're getting less and less organic sales, which means that your ad sales are making up a larger and larger percentage of your total sales. So what you need to do is go back in and slash most of your pay-per-click and run a relaunch at your product using outside marketing to boost those metrics, those click-through rates, those conversion rates. And you need to make sure you're targeting the correct keywords and routes and do a large scale, like overall remapping of all of the keywords and routes that you want to target for that product. And then basically just start from scratch with your PPC. Only keep on things that are converting very highly with good click-through rates. Basically turn everything off and then use a little bit of marketing to start pushing. And then you can start turning on more marketing slowly as you're tracking your keyword ranks. For us, PPC is always just an additional tool to help maintain keyword ranks or grow the keyword ranks, but never as a main driver of sales. We try to keep, for an established product, our tacos or total advertising to 5 to 8, definitely under 10%.
10%, yeah. I was going to say as well is a good rule of thumb as well. So in case of PPC, Brandon has different ways of doing things, of course, as well with a mixture. But if you're only using PPC and you're in different lower velocity markets as well, just keep an eye on things like if at 20%, you're probably leaving money on the table in terms of PPC, but you don't really want to go over 40 either. And it's really about finding that sweet spot for your market. There's no real defined, but I think Brandon has put it absolutely clear, of a very clear strategy and breakdown for you.
So
Michael,
can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
What I would do, Amy, I had the same issue one time. I had to leave and then change the settings before you re-enter the studio here.
Go out the studio and come back in, and then change your settings.
Is in the waiting room, I think.
Yeah, and then I'll bring it back in.
While she does that, may I just add one thing for Brandon to kind of understand where that question came from and the reason I'm having that happen. I really haven't changed anything on my PPC. It was accounting for 33% of my total sales, but since those sponsored brand video ads came on, I've just been able to attack those hard, and I've been able to double my sales through PPC, and that's what's caused this jump. So I'm not sure if that's a bad thing or not, and that's kind of to give you a little more context.
No, absolutely. I love it in video sale. Video right now is like low hanging fruit. Most people don't have good video, and they don't have video at all. And content is how you win in this game. Now, what I would say is just make sure you're monitoring those keyword ranks throughout all of the target keywords, everything above maybe 750 search volume, monthly search volume. I monitor that I think is relevant. So maybe a 1 or 2 relevancy score, the way we score it. Everything above that 750 search volume, especially since you have one product, you can monitor a lot more because we're kind of limited on how many we can monitor. But I would definitely monitor everything, and then keep pumping the video because it's low hanging fruit. And if it's helping keyword ranks or keeping them the same, but it's a really low ACoS, and it's profitable, then that's fine.
Okay.
Let's see if we can hear you, Amy. Is that a bit better?
How's that?
Yeah,
Good?
it's a bit better. Move your microphone closer to you or stop less echo if you can.
Don't need it.
There you go.
All right.
It's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, it bounces less. Sorry, I know you don't want to be leaning into the mic, but sometimes it takes the reflection out of the room. Second question, in your expert opinions, does having recycled packaging help sales? And if so, what's the best way to send that message to your customers? We still have competition that sends to a customer in a clear OPP bag, so it does not really so it does not really matter that the products are under $20. So first part of the question is what you're sending it out in, really is what you got to look at that in terms of value proposition. And then the second thing, of course, is does recycle have an impact? Amy, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I see a lot of people spending a lot of money on packaging when it doesn't always matter to the customer. And this is when it really matters that you actually know your customer, right? Because I've seen people sending products in expensive gift box packaging when the customer could give a crap less, and they don't have perceived value in that box, right? So if you're selling an eco-friendly product, and this is a product, I've had a lot of clients selling eco-friendly products, and they say, Amy, I'm putting it in, it's fully recyclable packaging. Well, guess what? The customer, they expect that from an eco-friendly product. They expect that it's going to be in biodegradable packaging. And the problem is all of your competitors are not putting it in biodegradable packaging. So here you are spending the extra money to put it in this recycled package. And your competitors have all these reviews that say, oh, it's not even biodegradable. It comes in a plastic bag, and they're complaining about it. But you have no way to communicate that to the customer constantly on Amazon. It's not worth it, in my opinion, to go the extra mile if there's not enough, if your competitors are going to beat out because they're offering it at a lower price and better looking photos, which is how people shop with their eyes on Amazon. Yeah. So the biggest issue is that if you're in a category where your competitors are not doing that and they're able to slice their costs because of it, and you're trying to go that extra mile, but you're not able to communicate that to the customer, and you're finding through buys and conversions that the customer really doesn't care, then you really need to think about that before moving forward with biodegradable packaging.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to move through the questions a little bit faster now. We're 11 minutes in. I just want to make sure we cover as many as possible. So next one up, any new beta programs out now that we can sign up with Amazon, i.e. Project Zero? Any suggestions that you guys use, Amy or Brandon?
So the only thing I've seen lately is that they have a beta for IP Accelerator. It's not, so they have the IP Accelerator program where you use one of their approved attorneys. One of my students actually applied using their application from another country, and Amazon granted them in a new beta from a different attorney altogether. So basically, they're saying, since you're in process, we're going to grant you brand registry, which I think is absolutely huge that they're starting to move in that direction where they're kind of trusting some of these other applications and attorneys. Besides just the ones that they've earmarked. That's the only thing I've really seen lately. There is quite a bit going on with regards to this new indexing. I don't know if that's any of the questions are on the table today, but as of yesterday, they started really hammering down on shipping limits for new products and indexing and stuff. And that's another big concern that a lot of my students have.
I think the big thing about, beta programs right now that people need to be paying attention to are the new Amazon advertising beta programs. So if you're a registered brand on Amazon and you have not started running video ads, the new beta video ads, you are completely missing out, people. I'm spending 25 cents a click. My conversion rates are insane, and it has been incredibly cheap and awesome. And then the other one, if you aren't doing it, is the beta display ads. I'm spending 20 cents a click. In 3 days from starting a new campaign, I had over $600 in sales on one product. In 3 days, that's like unheard of for impressions to spin up that fast and convert that fast at a 20-cent click. So that's the sponsored display beta ads. So those two beta ads, if you're not doing them yet, get on it. Do it now. Do it now. Get to the chopper, right? So it's so worth it. And then, we've always had the other thing that's kind of new is Amazon's posts. They've recently done their post program where if you're a registered brand, you can now use Amazon like a social media platform, and they've been putting some extra kind of attention to their posts. So using hashtags, trying different images out and getting out there and trying out Amazon Post, it has been fruitful for some of us.
Cool. And next question, titles. When you have a parent with many children, would it be best for me to name each child differently so it get ranking on the first few words of each title and could include many keywords rather than just going like a title of Oh, he's written his product title here.
Sorry, Danny.
Right. Explain that question slightly differently.
Sure. I will. I basically, if you have a product with a lot of variations, is it better to go with the same general title for all of them, or would it be better to pack them with different keywords in the first
for each
five words of your canonical?
So we've definitely seen it's a hack to actually name each title differently, because you get title credit, which is weighted heavier than other types of credit. So what's interesting, and most people don't know this, is where you actually see the title of the child, you don't actually see it as a customer until you've already checked out in your cart. So then that title appears. Otherwise, it's almost always the parent with the variation at the end in brackets. So you can basically name your child anything you want, each title differently, and get a lot more credit for each keyword. So that is a hack that we talk about in the inner circle.
Cool.
And especially, in your back-end keywords, don't forget those. I mean, definitely, even if you have a parent-child variation listing and you're putting basically the same listing out there, your back-end keywords, intended use, and subject matter fields, maximize those, because now you can have so much more targeting towards that parent-child listing by utilizing those. So even if you're not doing different titles, which titles are difficult to change on Amazon sometimes after you've already created them, even if you're not doing different titles, get in there and utilize the back-end keywords and intended use and subject matter fields. Fill all those out with different keywords that you haven't already used in the front end of your listing, and you're going to find an incredible amount of benefit from doing that.
Opportunity there, yeah. Image decks. When you have a parent with many child variations, do you recommend different image decks or the same images on all variations for consistency? What is a good way to test this? Brandon?
So, I mean, for that, I'm always trying to test images. The issue is that when you have variations and you have different sizes, colors, like, things are just going to be naturally more popular than others. So it can be difficult to test from variation to variation. So typically we'll just test on the same variation, and we'll test conversion rate, click-through rate. And it's more of a conversion rate thing where you're testing the different images. Where you find that you really move the needle are going to be those lifestyle images, those infographics, and just making sure your image is very clean. That main image is probably the most important by far, but you got to make sure you don't have things that are obviously photoshopped or just, really poor images. If you have solid infographics and lifestyle images and a really nice main image, then you're going to bump your conversion rate significantly.
Yeah, so it's important what you're going to measure, because you've got to reach what we call statistical significance. And in some cases, whatever it may be, even if it's just a general listing, you're going to look at your price, you're going to look at your title, you're going to look at your image. You're not going to look at the fifth bullet point, or you're not going to look at, say, the description and make some changes in there when you're doing parallel testing there. So ideally, what Brandon's saying is you want to go for the low-hanging fruit and maximize off of that one, and then test individual items off there. But they're going to need some velocity there in order to capture the data to make it worthwhile doing. Yeah?
Roger that.
Amy, do you want to add on to this question at all?
Sure. I think it depends on the product.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful about changing out too many images on a parent-child variation, because you can confuse the heck out of the customer too. So if you've got the wrong colors or even the right colors, if it's just a color variation, it's helpful to actually have the correct color in each of your variations. But if it's a style variation and you've got all kinds of different stuff going on there, you can definitely confuse the customer and go, okay, wait, what am I getting? And kind of set yourself up for failure there. But ultimately, I completely agree with both of these gentlemen when it comes to your photos are what sells your product. Bottom line. People spend so much time writing this amazing listing, and they don't show that in their photos. Customers, when they come to your listing, they're going to go through your photos, and if you do not answer their questions or address your main features and benefits in your photos, they're going to move on to your competitors. They're not even going to bother reading your listing. So if I can give you no better advice, it's to make sure that those photos represent why they should buy your product and not your competitors, and the quality and their risk-free guarantee of your product. Make sure that you're showing those things.
I'll add one more thing to that. The bullet points have become less and less important as people shop more and more on mobile, because your bullets are at the bottom
Yeah.
And your description is so much more important than it ever was. And a lot of people ignore the description. They put 1 or 2 sentences and they don't realize that that's really your new bullet points. That's where you need to be selling. So all of those things about how you spend time really talking to the benefits of the customer, like, or the benefits of your product, the advantages, like those different things that you need to address over your competition as you do that analysis of your competition. So you need to look at what do people love and don't love about my competition? What are they complaining about? How did I address that? You need to put that information in your description now. Now, if you have enhanced brand content, it needs to be in your description. And because that's going to be the first thing people see now. And so your bullets have become much less important. So like exactly like Amy said, people like basically flip through your images and make a decision. If they go to that next level, you need to sell them on your description. Like very, very few people are even reading the bullets anymore, I think. So you really want to make sure that you spend more time focusing on where people's eyeballs are and where you can convert them.
Yeah.
Great.
So effectively you're what's the word? I'm looking for the word for it. So you're effectively using the description to reinforce the bullets in some ways as well. There's going to be a variation on there. The other thing you've got to look at as well is if people have to scroll down the page, there's a lot of distractions on the way down, right? So obviously if people are feasting with their eyes, as we know, get the message across there, because if you just paid for someone to come to that listing, they go through the images and then scroll and then they pick up on someone else's products, then you've lost the sale. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries. This is a classic. I want to affect the frequently bought together box. How do I do it?
Well,
Brandon?
Oh, man.
White hat or black hat?
Yeah.
You can wear
Try.
for grey, yeah?
Yeah,
Gray.
that'd be great.
So,
Yeah, I mean, so there are ways to do it. I'll let Amy go ahead.
there are ways to do it. I'm kind of with Brandon here, where there's a lot of sneaky ways you can do this. You can actually bundle. You can run promotions on other people's products. You can give away other people's products alongside of yours, and then it ends up frequently bought together. There's so many things you can
Interesting.
do. You can you can run promotions on other people's products. You can actually bundle your products. Like if you want to get really sneaky, you can actually bundle your products with a competitor's products and do like a virtual bundle and kind of sell them together. But it's there's a lot of ways to do it, but
you can't find the cleanest between the pair of you. You're fighting off because you're like, oh, where's the clean one? Where's the clean one?
I would make sure also that you're targeting your advertising toward them too.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Do your product targeting. Make sure that your listing is showing up there, and then maybe even go as far as to do a couple of rebates of some, having them both bought together. And then from there, just let the advertising do the work. And, but yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on the product and, how much money and time and effort you're going to put into that strategy.
Cool.
What do you got, Brandon? I'm trying to cover that one.
What she said, it can be expensive depending on the product that you're targeting. I mean, you're gonna, like, for the most part, you spend money to do it. You could run a lot of promotions, marketing. If you have launch audiences, or like if you have like fans of your brand, or like that you've built up a list, then running promotions with both products, like, hey, buy this product and we'll give you ours for free or for 50% off, or so there's different things you can do. We use chatbots, ManyChat, and so you can basically program your bot to have people do anything. You can have them go and purchase another product. You can have them add that product to cart and buy yours. There's all sorts of things that you can do that would influence that frequently bought together.
All right.
And I'll say that frequently bought together doesn't mean necessarily bought together. Like it could just be an ad. I'll just leave it at that.
Cool. All right. So special offers and product promotions section of the listing. We've been running these since the start with very few people even noticing that area of the listing. What can I do to spice it up?
Emojipedia, man. I love me some Emojipedia. Get on Emojipedia, throw in some little emojis and stuff, and then don't forget to show it in your photos. If you're doing a tiered promotion, of like save 20% if you buy 2, save 30% if you buy 3, save 40% if you buy 5, whatever. Put it in your photo. Make a photo of that and say, use these coupon codes, and then make sure you're adding emojis into your, and then
I love that idea. That's something.
Yeah. Amy's lighting it up like a Christmas tree. Yeah.
And then also don't forget to mention that, like, this is a great place to put that on social media as well. You know, share that out there, and you know, put that same image right out there to your email list, social media. Get it out there. Say, hey, look at this amazing promotion we're running.
I got to write this down. Make a picture of your stacks, your coupon stacks. I love that.
Yeah. Cool. Next question. Recommended deals for you, newer and similar items section. It's part of the desktop listing towards the very bottom. Any way to affect these or make sure we are in that area? Anything we can do to influence?
To influence where?
Recommended deals for you in the
Yes.
newer and similar. Those are usually deals run by Amazon. So you can go under advertising, and I believe it's deals under the advertising menu.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And then you can see what deals that you can run through Amazon on your store. And that's like lightning deals and Amazon, what is it, like their wholesale?
The 7-day deals. Yeah, it's going to be like liquidation deals, 7-day deals, lightning deals. It's not going to be something that you're always running usually.
Okay.
So you can't really influence that to that extent. But they put the most popular related products there and to snag traffic off your listing.
Cool. Just to come up here, Stuart Pollock says that coupon stack photo works amazingly. I've had so many more multi-unit orders since I created mine.
Love that. Yeah.
Me too.
Excellent.
Our
favorite
whole session worth it for me. This is exactly what
Totally.
this is why I come on Danny's show so I can learn something.
Likewise. I hadn't thought about programming the ManyChat stuff. So yeah, I'm learning too. It's good stuff.
Well, whilst you two are having a loving, because you're the one to come up with the answer, I'll read out the next question. Amazon Choice Badge. It always seems to be changing, or it could be different for different children. How do I best affect these to obtain them? And should I be going for a different keyword Amazon Choice Badge for each child within the parent listing?
That was like 40 questions in one. I love it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, well,
Who wants to unpick that first?
Okay, I'll do this one. All right, Amazon, and I know Brandon's going to have a lot to add to this, but Amazon's choice is based on how relevant your listing is for that keyword. So you'll notice Amazon Choice Badges are based on phrases. They're based on, Amazon's choice for water bottle, Amazon's choice for baby stroller, right? And your brand will almost always get the Amazon's Choice Badge for your brand name, right? But the more relevant that your listing is for a certain keyword, so whether you've done that with external traffic is a great way to, with your two-step URLs is a great way to influence Amazon's Choice Badges, but you want to make sure that not only are you running that external traffic for that phrase, but that your listing is super relevant for those phrases that you're wanting to get those Amazon's Choice Badges for. I've gotten Amazon's Choice Badges for listings that I've written like immediately after they've gone live after writing them for multiple keywords because it is so relevant. It's the most relevant for that phrase. So when people are like, well, no, don't you have to have sales? And no, you don't. You just need to be the most relevant for that phrase. And you could do that by making sure that you're using the right phrases in your product listing. And also you can hack more and you get more Amazon's Choice Badges by making sure that you're running that external traffic, you're utilizing those two-step URLs. And then in terms of your parent-child listings, you can make sure that, as we talked about before, optimizing your title for each child, running different two-step URL keywords or two-step URLs with different keywords to each child listing. But yeah, the great thing about advertising though with parent-child listings is you can really just advertise to your bestseller and it brings it to the rest.
Right.
Brandon? Too many secrets being spilled? Need to hold back for the mastermind backroom? Paul Daniels Magic Circle?
So, look, a disclosure, I'm one of the owners of RebaKey. Danny knows this. Most people know this. I don't hold it back. RebaKey is great for this. There are certain URLs you can use, like if you're gonna you don't. So RebaKey, you can use any URL you want, and you can direct people to purchase your product any way you want. And then when they purchase, 35 days later, they get mailed a check. This means that it's outside the return window, and it means it's a full sale on Amazon. So the way that they calculate is, like Amy said, it's relevancy. You have total sales in there, and you have basically just driving conversion rate and click-through rate through specific keywords and routes. It's very likely that if you do that for a certain number of days, and not overdoing it, because you have to make sure that you're not stifling your growth based on Amazon's perception of what's normal. So you have a standard deviation outside of their normal that you can kind of play in. And if you're outside of that, then they start to stifle your keyword ranking potential. So a lot of people run into this issue when they're first launching a product. They give away a ton of products, and their conversion rate's so high that Amazon knows it's not normal. So then they actually give you less keyword ranking juice. So you've got to know what you're doing with regards to some balancing there, with regards to add to carts and playing within Amazon's normal, right? But if you kind of know that, and you know not to give away too many, you can do very few units a day targeting a keyword or 2 or 3 or 4 and rotate them. And then, after a certain number of days, you typically will start to get some badges.
A great way to do that without needing to use rebates. Brandon and I are competitors here. I'm co-owner of Rebate Jet.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, either way, so rebates are a great way to do that. And I've used RebaKey before we had Rebate Jet. They are a great way to do that. But another great way to do that is balance your rebates with Google Ads. Google text-based search ads direct to your listing are going to rank you for a ton of keywords because you can use those 2-step URLs. So you mix it up, right? Do a couple of rebates where you're going to get those conversions, and then also do those Google ads, high intent to buy behind Google ads. I literally spend about 10 cents a click, $5 a day per product. It's incredible. It does incredible for your ranking. It's very cheap because Amazon is such a big domain. So mix it up, people. The biggest problem that I see people doing with their product launches is they'll do these rebates and everything, and Amazon, they're loving it. They're mixing it up. They're doing the add to cart. They're doing all these different things, right? Amazon's loving it. It's going, oh man, I'm getting all this external traffic. It's awesome. And then you stop everything. You're like, oh, I did my launch. I'm out of my money now. I gotta start making some sales. And the algorithm sees that and it goes, what the hell happened there? That was obviously, something fishy going on there. So a great way for you to do that is go ahead during launch and do rebates and do all those other things, but also run Google ads. Because then when you let off those rebates after your big launch period, you're still going to have constant flow of traffic with those 2-step URLs coming to your listing. And that is an incredibly great way to rank and stick the landing on your ranking.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Next one. Can you suggest? I'm assuming you're saying IOR, import of record for Singapore. I don't know if you guys knows, but a friend of the show, Megla, join her group, The Asian Seller. In there, she's based in Singapore anyway. She'll be able to hook you up. So that'll give you that answer. I'm not sure. Do you guys? You going to venture into Singapore? No, too small yet. Yeah. Okay, next one. In Spain, I have some success with auto campaigns, but most other types never convert well. In the EU market is another strategy we should consider, different from the US market. Yes, it's massively different. This is why we call it Sleepy Spain. Plus, you're using a different language as well. So if you think of, you've got the US market, when you compare US to the EU in terms of long tail, it almost doesn't exist in most categories, right? There's very limited long tail in the EU in comparison to the US. There is some long tail, but whereas you might have a product where you've got like 100 keywords and 75 of them are really relevant in the US, in the EU, it might only be 5 to 7 that are super relevant, and the search volume's not there because the depth's not there. Yeah. Then when you look interestingly with places like Spain, does your product fit the market? I know what your product is, but let me give you an example I give to clients and other people. If you do Taco Tuesday in the US, there's some sales on taco holders. If you do tacos and try and sell them to the Germans, there is nothing there. They're not interested. It's not culturally something they engage in. I know what you've got is kind of a ubiquitous product, but then you've got to look at investment into the market. Like you might not think that that market is doing well for you, but that is sleepy Spain. Quite often the biggest markets are Germany, and then you've got the UK or vice versa. And then normally out of those markets, people find to react that 3 or 2 of those markets work really well. And maybe it's Spain that's not very good for them, or Italy's not good for them, or France is not good to them. So there's always like that 80-20 rule. So take that into consideration. The other thing is as well, definitely get someone to reread your listings as well. There's a big mistake that even though you get people that will optimize and do a translation of your listing, that doesn't make them good keyword researchers and understand marketing. They may just know how to translate from one language to another. So they need to make sure that you never have that as someone's second or third language. It's got to be their primary language. And so get people to read that listing to make sure that, you know, there's dialect, there's all these different characteristics of a language and the relationships there. And if you try and take, say, a US listing, not only translate it to German, but the way that you sell to the Germans is completely different to the way you would sell to guys in the US. You know, in the most respectful way, you know, in the US, it's more happy clappy. It's like, yeah. Whereas the Germans are like, no, it needs to be exactly that. And if it's slightly off, I'll pick you up on it. They're very, very, have a keen eye on terms of how you present that information to them. So I would be looking at your listings first, then understand the nature of the market, go run some brand analytics reports in those marketplaces as well. Have a look what search terms in there, because quite often keywords don't appear in brand analytics, often, not all, but often, unless they're branded terms, often have less than 10 searches a day. So you might think you're dialing in on the market, but there's just no search volume there. So you're not getting the results that you want. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense. Thank you.
Do you guys want to add anything to that?
So we really, we that was great. We don't sell outside of US. We're finally going to make the jump this year over to Europe. If we can even do it. We were planning on doing it. Really, we got behind because of the virus, and we're already probably a little late to do that. We have to focus on Q4 inventory and like 30 new products that we're launching before Q4 this year here. So we're probably not even going to launch in UK like we had originally planned. It's always been a question of like cost benefit analysis, ROI for us. It's a brand new market, brand new launch. We have to basically start a brand new product. Even though it's successful here, it doesn't mean it's going to be successful in another market. Same thing Danny just said. Some markets are going to be better than others. And so for us, it was like, well, we can take a product and start a brand new launch with this product over in this other market. Or we can just launch a new product in .com where we know the ROI is going to be much greater and then the audience is much bigger. Sure. And so for us, we don't diversify in terms of marketplaces. We diversify in terms of brands, accounts, and products.
Yeah, I'd recommend anybody before they consider moving into the EU, especially there's so many different languages and you're going to have those initial setup costs, even though you're already set up on .com. But I mean, Danny nailed it. Like the keywords are important. And if you're just translating that, you're saying your auto campaigns are not doing well. Well, PPC is directly related to the keywords that you're using in your listing. So if you're just running an auto campaign, it's going to show your listing for whatever relevance based on how your listing is written. So if you just have that listing basically translated using Google Translate or just even a copywriter on Fiverr, they aren't a professional translator. They might not know SEO keywords for Spain, for Germany. So, and as Danny mentioned, the customers there shop differently. So yeah, I'm with Brandon here. It's all about ROI, and I wouldn't be expanding until I had mastered one market, and then I'd move into like UK, master it there, and then move into the other languages as well.
Yeah. Okay. In Japan, I find that higher price points do better than to try and go low and give customers discount. Any suggestions, other things that I can do to help grow sales? Now, interestingly, again, with Japan, we had a fatal launch there about 3 years ago. We got it off eventually, and then we had a product defect issue, and then we wrote it off from there. But I actually had a Japanese person who was Japanese by descent, but then moved to the US and studied here and then moved back to Japan. We spent £300 or £400 on writing the listing, and then a local, we couldn't work out why it wasn't converting. And then a local seller who we become friends with, his wife looked at the listing. Now, I don't know much about languages, but my understanding is 3 parts to the Japanese language, and it was a mixture of all of it across. So effectively, a lot of the stuff didn't make sense in the listing. Afterwards, it started to convert. We did do giveaways in the end. PPC was quite difficult there, but you're right. With the Japanese, they don't want to beat. They want a fair price, but they want a higher quality product, which is slightly different from, say, the mindset. A lot of, because it's only 1 week from Japan, 1 week C from China. A lot of Chinese sellers there, and they get into that mindset of doing the lower prices, but the Japanese are looking for high quality products. And it's very difficult to get reviews there. For one, if you look at some listings, like go to Japan and you compare like spatulas, the amount of listings of the amount of reviews on the spatulas in the US versus Japan. I haven't looked recently, but I remember looking like, say it's 3,000 on these spatulas in the US, but in Japan it might be 300. The other thing they do is they don't like to give like 5 stars reviews, because it's almost like embarrassing to give 5-star reviews. They're normally like 4 and somewhere in the middle, but equally they're not too keen on giving like really bad reviews. And tomorrow we've got Nick come in, Japan guy, been on the show before. We're going to do a show on Japan tomorrow, so maybe check in there and get a fuller update. But I've done 2 episodes on the show, and I think there's a presentation I've done what was it, Global Sources, about 3 years ago, launching in Japan. It's going to be out of date, but the sentiments are going to be the same as well. You guys, do you want to add anything on the Japan thing there? No? Okay, let's get to the next one. Is there a tool currently that can move the sale price of my product up and down based on the BSR? Brandon?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Amy, sorry.
Moving your sale price. This is like, I'm sure Brandon has a lot to say about this too, because I'm sure he gets as many questions about this as I do. And it's like, okay, people, first of all, I get it. You should set a competitive price. You should make sure during your launch that you have a competitive price. But Amazon doesn't like it if you keep moving your price around, right? They see that, especially if you're a private label brand, they see that as price manipulation. So I'd just be really careful. There are repricing tools that arbitrageurs use, such as Aura is a really good repricing tool. But I don't know that it's necessary. I don't know that it's necessary for you to be constantly moving your price around. Instead of just starting with a really good competitive price, running your sales promotions, driving your external traffic, doing all of those things, I just tend to not really mess around with like the little micro pricing rules. Maybe Brandon has a different opinion here.
So, I mean, BSR is not the driver for us ever. So like for us, like BSR is just a snapshot of the last few days average of your sales. It really is meaningless because it's relative to your competition, and it doesn't really give you an idea of your profitability of your product. And for us, it's always about keywords. So we're tracking keyword ranks. That's the difficulty of using something like Splitly. We still use it, and we want to try to find whether we can push the envelope on something that's established. So if we've established a product, we're often launching. Our launch strategy often includes starting with a lower price, maybe with a coupon, really something to incentivize high click-through rate, high conversion rate. But then what we're doing is we're starting to creep the price up, and then we want every time we move it up, we want to establish a few days of history of good sales at that price. And if it doesn't go well, then we lower it back down. So we're always testing. And so for an established product, we're doing basically the same thing. We're starting to creep the price up, and we want to know where we can kind of settle on a product where the market is comfortable still beating the competition as far as that click-through rate, conversion rate. And so what we'll find is like we need to track the keyword ranks in relation to our price changes so that we can understand how it impacts those numbers. So BSR to us is not necessarily as important as keyword ranks or our conversion rates and our quality of our listing.
Cool.
And ultimately profit, right? Like at the end of the day, your profit should be your biggest driver.
Yeah. Okay. We've got 11 minutes left and still a few questions to go. So let's bust through these. Would you consider it a good idea to turn off PPC during the off hours of the day or during the times when we have tracked that the lowest volumes of sales? Have you considered just turning PPC off every 4th day or so? I'll give you an example of some of the stuff we do at the agency. It's not necessarily turning the PPC off per se, but when we take over some campaigns and we want to do a restructure, etc., and get better understanding of the analytics and stuff, we'll do like a parallel testing where in the beginning we'd run them for 3 days, their campaign, our campaign 1 day, then 3 days, then eventually they'll merge and it'll be taken over by the main campaign. Now, there has been times where we've had a client that I think it grew by about a stupid amount. It doesn't happen all the time, by 600-700%, something super crazy. But what we've done there is that he was overspending on these campaigns earlier parts of the day, couldn't get control of it. So we built campaigns that sat atop upon these, and then we switched them over at different parts of the day. And then for some bizarre reason, the spend started to come down a bit, and then we diverted over to these new campaigns. But they're little kinks and things that you need to test to work out where they work for you. Brandon, would you switch off your campaigns at any point?
So there is a way that you can heat map the most likely time people are just browsing versus actually converting. It's very interesting. So I know sellers that are high level sellers that do manipulate their campaigns, their bids, and their like whether it's even on, or sometimes they lower their bid or raise their bid depending on the heat maps. And you'll find that certain times of the day, people are more prone to just clicking and looking for what they're going to buy at another time. And then, so those are times that you kind of not want your ad showing up, even though like you do want to still get in their eyes. I kind of keep it on all the time. I don't play the game, but I know that there could be some benefit to, like Danny said. I mean, I think people in the beginning of the day, all the bids are high, your competition has a budget, and then there's a likelihood at the end of the day that some of your competition has run out of budget, so you're likely to get a lower click-through rate or cost per click, and then you can get a better cost. For us, we kind of want to be omnipresent and find a balance there. We don't necessarily turn it off and on.
So I have a really good tip for this. I use this seasonally. So it's called day parting. And, there's a lot of software that you can use where you take that heat map that Brandon was talking about, and you can automatically set up your campaigns. The software will do the work for you of turning them on and off. The thing that I use this for is seasonally. For example, during Q4, there's a lot of advertisers during these times. There's a lot of people running advertisements. So you're going to burn through a lot of clicks that are not going to convert during certain times in very high cost advertising parts of the year. So most of the year, I don't do day parting. But during Q4 at certain times, I will do day parting because, again, the advertising is just insane. So there's no point in me paying for a bunch of clicks that are not going to convert during that time, especially if there is software out there that is designed to actually click on your campaigns and drive the costs of advertising up. So, it's good to be able to know about these techniques. But again, everything comes down to ROI. As Brandon mentioned, he wants to be omnipresent. He wants to make sure that you're optimizing your advertising and mastering that first before you get into something like day parting. But if you are finding that certain seasons of the year, the advertising cost is just not worth the payoff, then a great way to do that is test out some day parting and see how it works for you.
Okay. Cool. Coming back to back-end search terms, should each child contain different keywords that you want to target?
I think we touched on that a little bit earlier.
We covered that enough.
Definitely recommended different keywords per child. Yeah.
Okay. In Canada, we often fight for the number one bestseller badge with low cost sellers. Offering prices so low is very hard for us to compete. We bounce between 1 and 4. More often than not, though, at number 2. In this case, what would you suggest we run a loss leader to maintain the badge, or not worry about it and focus on higher profits?
What's your goal? I mean, is it worth it for you to run it as a loss leader? I mean, do you have the products and the presence in Canada to be doing that? Or
I guess the question I was more asking, Amy, was, I've really never held the bestseller badge for very long. Maybe had it for a day. Is there a good reason to try to hold on to that all the time? Is I guess.
Well, I mean, customers do see that bestseller badge, and they do buy. They're like, ooh, that's a bestseller. That's special, right? I mean, obviously there is a reason to hold on to that bestseller badge if you can. But if you're finding yourself in a category where you're just having a really tough time holding on to it, I would
let it go, baby. Let it go.
I would maybe look, as Brandon was talking about how he's looking at all the different keywords that he's ranking for. I would take another look at that listing, and I would take another look at your optimization of it, because remember that the way that your listing is optimized and the way that you're running your advertising influences how many searches you actually show up for. So the reason why Brandon wants to keep track of all those keywords that he's ranking for is because those represent searches that his products are showing up for, and that represents potentials for more sales. So I would definitely, besides, instead of just thinking about price, look at the other things that could help you convert even more. Maybe look at your look through your photos again, and that other product that keeps coming back up, make sure that you are doing awesome. Reverse search that competitor who keeps fighting for the bestseller badge with you, and see what the heck they're ranking for, and make sure you're right on top of that with them, so that you're able to maybe maintain that bestseller badge a little bit easier, simply because you are showing up for more searches in more categories under more search terms, which is going to allow you to maintain that bestseller badge longer.
Okay.
Cool. Good. I'm going to ask one more before we wrap, if that's all right, because we've got to say our goodbyes and stuff as well. We do pretty well in Mexico, but nowhere near what, say, Canada is doing. Any advice on how to tell if it's based on the platform traffic issue or people just not shopping for said product? I ran PPC there for a while, but it never worked well there for some reason. Any tips for best practices for this platform? So we know Mexico in most cases is small for everyone, right? So you've got to make that adjustment versus all your other marketplaces. But again, it comes back, look at what your PPC reports are saying. Are you getting any impressions? And if you are, is there a lot of impressions? Are you getting clicks? If you're not getting clicks, Brandon, you got any ideas as well?
Again, we're not multi-platform outside the US. We take part in that North American, project where they'll ship for us, and that's to the extent of that. But we don't really run ads or anything like that, so I can't really offer any help in Mexico. Sorry.
Yeah, Amy.
I've written a couple listings for Mexico, helped people with sales in Mexico, but again, I'm not really sure what the problem is in terms of your sales. On any new market that a client is considering, we always go and look at the market. We always go and look and see, okay, well, what other products in this category are selling? How well are they selling? How does the competition look for this product? Because even if you're the only person on the page, that might be for a reason, right? There might not be a lot of interest in that category. So, ultimately, you don't want to be spending a whole bunch of money on PPC. It's not converting, and it's all about ROI. You're selling everywhere, Michael. Dang,
Well, this is what we said earlier on. He's got one product since 2015, I believe, isn't it? He's been doing 5 or 6 years. He has one product, but he's refined that over time, 6 different versions of that same one product. But he's absolutely everywhere, every Amazon platform pretty much, plus off Amazon as well, aren't you? You're doing 35% of your sales off of Amazon. So it's not quite 50%, but it's nice, isn't it? It's a different model, because I'm like, okay, well, what about, diversification of risk and stuff? You get suspended. Okay, 35% is not going to fully cut it, but it's a different level or different type of diversification. It's very interesting in how he's been so focused on each element of the product and gone and resourced and made improvements. I think I'd be driven fucking mad after all that time, keep refining the same product.
I think my friends are. They're tired of me.
Brandon sits there and launches 1 million products a year and then dumps as and when he needs them. Could you imagine being on that same product since 2015?
No shot. Like, that's something that is completely the opposite end of the spectrum from our business model, which is launch a lot of products. Half of them are going to be great and we're going to continue to sell them. 30% we're going to make a little money and discontinue. 10 to 20% we're going to lose money and just abandon. So for us, it's just a matter of churning and developing a lot of products and launching a lot of products.
And I'm a little bit closer to Michael's, because I develop unique products and significantly differentiated products. And so we do stick with one product for a longer period of time. And our goal is to sell that product on as many profitable channels as possible beyond Amazon.
And you use the word profitable channels as well.
Yes, exactly. That's the key, right? You don't just want to move on and sell in another channel. I always tell people like, okay, sell in your strongest sales channel first, then research your potential second strongest one, and then learn that, because I've seen people list just stuff everywhere and it doesn't do you any good, because every platform has its quirks. Every platform has to be learned. So yeah, I'm all about that though. Like, you know, I'm all about selling a few really great products on a lot of channels and making a really great profit. So
cool. Right. So I'm going to cut everyone short now because we've got to get this uploaded and keep it under the 60 minutes. Amy, best way people can reach you.
AmazingAtHome.com, or join our Facebook group, Amazing at Home. And yeah, anytime.
Excellent. And Brandon, for you?
Seller Systems, Succeeding on Amazon Facebook group, or you can do seller-systems.com. I've got some masterclasses and different things you can use. Anyone listening to Danny's podcast, for the masterclass, you can use code $1 altogether. And then my 5-hour masterclass on finding products is only $1.
Cool. Michael, how was that?
That was awesome. Thanks, guys, so much. Brandon, Amy, Danny, thank you for the insight today. I really enjoyed the conversation with you guys. It's really fun to actually talk to the people I watch all the time.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Guys, next week we'll do the same again. Remember, just drop me an email, danny@sellersessions.com, if you want to be included in the seller Q&A. We'll bring wonderful guests in again, like Brandon and Amy and other people in the community. That will be dependent on your questions. Please make sure that if you do approach, you're doing 6 figures or above, and this is your full-time gig. We want to make sure that, like what Michael done, he asked some really, really good questions that not only you will benefit from, but also the podcast listeners and the live listeners too. So I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care. 4 p.m. BST. We're out.